It didn't explode.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know you've been waiting a very long time for this video, but it's finally here. I sincerely apologize to those that have been following me since day one. I took such a long time to make this video, but here it is. So let's get it. Homemade plane, update number 3.
When do you want me to start recording?
Now.
Where's the record button?
Is it recording?
I don't know.
Oh my god, what do you mean? You don't know how to use a camera?
I'm illiterate.
Are you doing this on purpose? No, is that actually
I'm gonna take a snap. Okay, smile. I'll snap you when you're playing. Now smile. I'll take a picture.
Right.
What pose do you want? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, hold it. There's a video the whole time.
Oh my god.
Now the video I'm about to show you was taken 3 years ago, which was the last time I was working on this aircraft. So I took it for a taxi test just down the street, just to test out the ground performance of the aircraft, to see how the ground handling was and how the power to weight ratio was. I didn't go very fast. Now this is a very quiet street, so I can get away with stuff like this. The whole time I've only used about 15% throttle throughout the taxi.
He's pissing everyone off. It didn't explode.
Yeah, so the Cree was what inspired me to build this aircraft in the first place, and that's because of its compact design and its high performance. So the design is not entirely of the Cree, but it was inspired by the Cree. Now what happened to the first aircraft was I was modifying the tail section because the tail moment was a bit too short for the aircraft. So as I was doing that, I was using an arc welder. I should have been a lot more careful. The insulation in the cockpit caught on fire and I wasn't able to take out the fire in time and destroyed the whole fuselage, so I basically started from scratch again. So then I started my second design based off the first design, but I made a lot of improvements I made the aircraft much bigger, as you've seen in the last video. I've increased the power on both engines by using a different engine. Yeah, the overall design has just changed dramatically. It's somewhat similar to the old one, but just larger and more powerful. And the reason why I haven't worked on my aircraft for so long is because I'm doing my aerospace degree at the moment. So it's really hard to squeeze in a project of this size in my spare time. So that's why I've sort of put it on hold at the moment and mainly focusing on completing my degree. So hopefully by October, when I finish my studies, I should be able to work on it again. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of months. Reason for this project is just to really learn and understand what it takes to build an aircraft and what's involved. And it's taught me a lot over the years. Even long before I started my bachelor's, I learned so much from that project. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell down below. I'll continue updating you guys with this project, but I'll be posting other videos and other content in the meantime. Hopefully it's enough to keep you guys entertained. Alright, let me just move this out of the way for a second. So this is where it's at right now. Yeah, it's completely different from the first design, but it still has the engines in the same place. Now has 4-bladed props instead of 2 to try and get as much thrust out of the engine as possible. Give you a closer look. Now obviously this is designed when I was much younger, so there's a lot of flaws in this design. I'll open this for you so you can see. Now I'm pretty sure the battery is flat at the moment, so I won't be able to start it up for you, but you can have a look around of what we have. Alright, so here's a tour of the cockpit. Over here we obviously have the throttles, and here we have the choke for the engine when we first started. Here we have the ignition for both engines, and up top is a tacho, just keeps track of how many hours the engines have done. And that circuit here just is the voltage regulator, so it steps down the voltage that's coming off the generators from the motor, and it's used to charge up the battery. And then here we have the main power switch, turns everything on, gives power to the cockpit. Here we have the 2 tachos for the RPM of both engines. Here's the fuel gauge, and here's the voltmeter, and these 2 LCD screens, they give you the oil temperature of the engines. Here we have the artificial horizon for horizontal and vertical. Flight GPS, it's got everything you need, including ground speed, altitude. It's got all the airports like already programmed into it, so it's pretty neat. So here we have the airspeed indicator, and here we have the altimeter, and in the bottom we have oil temperature for both engines. Sorry, these 2 were the old oil temperature gauges, which I don't use anymore. I use these ones instead. They're a lot more accurate, and yeah, they light up as well. Over to the right we have all these switches. These are all just avionic switches and light switches. So we've got some landing lights, cockpit lights, and a bunch of other things which I've forgotten most. And over here we have the parking brakes. I don't know if you can see that. We have parking brakes over here. So if you guys look at the bottom there, you can see the 2 rudder pedals, and they have hydraulic brakes on each wheel, so you can do differential braking. Okay, so down the bottom here we have the twin ignition key start for both engines. We have a circuit breaker just there in the middle, and down here we have the kill switch for both engines, and at the very bottom we have the fuel pump for both engines. So this is the engine control panel. Alright, here we have nice bucket seats, and it's got a 4-point harness, racing seat belts. Oh, and over there we have a 12-volt AUX. We've got USB charging and just a normal cigarette AUX charging port. So the engine itself is a replica of a Honda GX390. Originally puts out 13 horsepower, but it's been modded to put out 20 horsepower instead, and it's running at about 5,500 RPM at the moment. We have heat wrap on the exhaust. We have a centrifugal clutch that engages when it hits a certain RPM, and it drives this chain. This chain has a chain tensioner here, which keeps adequate tension on the chain, and the chain is also guided by this nylon guide, which wears out as well. It wears out over time, so you replace it when it wears out. And the chain eventually drives this sprocket, which drives this shaft, and it runs all the way to the back to those propellers. And this basically is connected to the airframe, so it's very sturdy, and there's a heavy duty bearing right here that's holding the shaft to the airframe. So all the force coming off the propeller is going directly into the airframe. It's not going to the engine as you would in most conventional planes. And the exhaust muffler, this is taken off a motorcycle, and it's got some spring dampening to just get rid of that vibration, and it's still really loud. The exhaust is so loud. A lot of you are probably wondering, why did you use steel for the frame? The reason why I used steel for the construction is because at the time when I first started building this aircraft, I did not have access to a welder that welds aluminium, and it was too expensive. I couldn't afford it, and I certainly did not have the skill to weld aluminium, because it's a lot more complex to weld aluminium than it is to weld steel. I wasn't able to use aluminium for this project, but I was able to incorporate aluminium wherever I could to try and save weight without having to weld it. Alright, so these propellers are one of the largest model aircraft propellers you can get. These are 36 by 12 inch, quite massive, and the two of them put together to make a 4-bladed propeller is pushing about 60 kilos of thrust from this engine. So together with the other engine, you're looking at about 120 kilos of thrust, which is a lot, which is more than adequate. So the weight of this aircraft is about 220 kilograms last time I checked. So for the Americans, that's about 485 pounds. So it's heavy, but it's not that heavy. For an aircraft, it's definitely quite light. And with the amount of power and wing area that it has, will most definitely be sufficient for flight. This is another project that I've been working on the side, which is a story for another time. Now I'll probably cover the side with aluminium as well, just to give the cockpit a bit of shielding from the airflow. But I'm thinking of leaving the back section open, the tail section open. I was originally going to cover it with fabric, but just to save a bit of time and effort, I've decided just to leave the tail section open. But obviously the tail surfaces have to be covered later down the track. Alright, I'll take you guys to the backyard. Yeah, I don't have enough room in my garage to keep those wings, so I'll keep them in the back. So I've just opened the covering, so you can see the wings. They used to have wooden ribs, but now they have metal ribs instead. I don't know if you can see that. Here's a closer look inside the wing. All those ribs are aluminium. They've just been coupled with steel and welded into the frame. Here's the flaperons. So this is where I'm at with this aircraft at the moment, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll make more videos as I make more progress throughout the years. But for now, take care, guys. Catch you next time.
It didn't explode.